G'day, welcome to Miss Hobbs Teaches Biology. In today's episode, we are going to be talking all about specialised human cells, and we're going to be talking specifically about muscle cells and nerve cells. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Miss Hobbs Teaches. My name's Miss Hobbs and I'm a Victorian science, STEM, business and agriculture teacher. All my videos are Victorian curriculum aligned and you can find worksheets linked down below. Okay, let's get into it. So last episode, we have talked about our different types of cells. That is linked here if you need a refresher. We have talked about prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells, and the two different types of eukaryotic cells being animal cells and plant cells. Today, we're going to specialize a little bit more and we're going to be talking about those animal cells. Make sure you recap that one if you need a little bit of a refresher. We've also talked about how do our cells, those cells we're talking about, those prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, divide for growth and development. And that video is also linked here if you need a refresher on that. So now that we've covered those two concepts, we are going to get into talking about those animal cells, and we're going to be talking about how they're specialized, okay? Remember how we were talking about mitosis, and mitosis being the process by which, if you fall over and you graze your knee and your skin cells, how they can grow and develop. Mitosis is how they do that and how they repair that. Well, today we're going to be diving in and we're going to be talking about those muscle and those nerve cells. So let's zoom out and let's think about all the amazing things that your body can do. Think about the Olympics. How cool has that been? Did you watch the high jump? My gosh, that was amazing, right? Think about those terrific body functions that you can do. You can jump, you can run, you can skip, you can play footy, you can play netball, whatever, right? All of those crazy functions that we can do and all of those amazing feats that you should have been seeing over the Olympics. Well, all of these are influenced and helped along by our specialized cells. And if we didn't have our specialized cells, we wouldn't be able to do any of these really cool things. So let's take the example. We've got our Australian women's high jumper. She came second, silver, amazing, right? When she is doing that little warm-up thing, she is sending signals to her brain saying, right, I need to jump over this beam. And those signals she sends and thinks about with her brain are able to send signals to our specialized muscle cells, telling them to jump and telling her body to move in the way that it moves. Now, how it sends those signals, right? This is if you're kicking a ball, doing whatever. When you think about that stuff and it happens, those signals travel along these things we call nerve cells, okay? Really cool, right? It's so cool. You can literally think that you can do something and you can do something, right? And it is all thanks to nerves, which then carry that message on. So, we've talked about these nerves, right? Now, these nerves, okay, they make up what we call your nervous system, right? So your nervous system goes all throughout your body and it contains nerve cells, and nerve cells tell stuff to happen, okay? Tells you jump really high or tells you to run. That is transmitted through nerve cells. Now, what we call these nerve cells is neurons, okay? So our nervous system is made up of nerve cells or neurons. Now, our nervous system includes our brain, okay, as well as other nerves that go through all about our body, and they carry information between our brain and elsewhere. And they say, okay, brain, think this is gonna happen. And then our nerves carry that information and I can think and I can twiddle my fingers, right? That is the nerves that are transmitting that information from my brain right through to my fingertips. So these nerves, okay, they go all over your body. Think about it like all these wires everywhere so you can twiddle your fingers, okay? That's passed on through your nervous system. Well, the main body, okay, the main way that that can be transmitted is through this really long fiber that we call an axon. So the main body, okay, of our nervous system, of our nerve cells or our neurons, is this long star-shaped item, and it's called an axon. I'll put a photo here. It's called an axon, okay? And this is what helps to transmit signal. So this axon, it receives messages from your brain or from other nerves saying like, oh, this is really hot, don't touch that, okay? Ouch. It receives all those messages and then it sends them down the axon to where they need to go, to different nerve cells. And how it does it is through generating these things we call action potentials, okay? This is really cool, I really like this. So we've got our nerve, it's like this little spindly, like this little starry thing, right? Picture here, starry thing. And it has this thing called myelin sheath, okay? Now the myelin sheath is separated into little chunks, right? So it's like there's a string and then it's like, it's got some glad wrap wrapped around at intervals, but there's breaks in the glad wrap. So how it transmits this signal is by making this action potential, which goes like this, okay? So it's sending a signal down there. It's like you're sending an electrical current, right? And at each break in the myelin sheath, it shoots up and it generates more energy to keep on going, right? And it makes this huge wave. It's really cool. And that is how we send messages. So I think in my brain that I want to wiggle my fingers, okay? And super, super fast, just like that, my brain, okay, it uses my axons and nerves to send those action potentials through those axons, passing through the myelin sheath, okay, to then wiggle my fingers. That's how it happens. Really cool stuff, yeah? So because your body's really big, right? The axons of your nerves also need to be big, yeah? So then you can transmit these signals over a really long period and a long space throughout all of your body, yeah? So the whole point of these axons and nerves is so we can transmit, okay, messages. So we can transmit signals and messages. And their long little spindly structure with their little star-shaped head and their myelin sheath, which generates the action potentials, is perfect, okay? Because it allows for the message to continue, yeah? It allows for the propagation, is what we call, new term for you, it'll be in vocabulary. It allows for the propagation, okay, of the signal. And propagation means like the continuing on or the helping along of the signal. Now, this is really cool, fun fact for you. The longest axon in your body, okay, extends from your spine down to your big toe, and it can be over 1 meter long. Can you believe that? Absolutely crazy. Okay, cool. That is our nerve cells, all right? Nerve cells go, okay, we've got our axons. Our axons have our myelinated sheath and they allow for action potentials to propagate our signal, and it allows for the sending of messages from our brain and from other parts, okay? If I touch something hot, it's gonna send the signal that way, back the other way to say, brain, remove the hand, right? They allow for the transmitting of signals through what we call our nervous system. Okay, cool. We have talked about nerves and that nerves allow the signals to be sent. But we also need to talk about muscle cells, because muscle cells is how then we can do that, right? The nerve says, wiggle my fingers, but if I don't have any muscle cells, I can't wiggle my fingers, right? So let's talk about the muscle cells. Now, muscle cells are really, really busy all the time. Remember when we were talking about the different structures in our cells and about how we had one which produces energy? Do you remember what that one was called? Mitochondria. Our muscle cells need lots of energy, so they have lots of mitochondria, right? Nice and dense, because they need lots of energy to do lots of things, yeah? If you need a recap on the mitochondria, check that other video out, okay? Now, our muscle cells, they're really long and they're thin cells because they need to be able to contract and relax. Now, contracting is like pulling apart, okay? Imagine you've got a rope. Imagine you're playing tug of war, right? You've got that noodle there. If you pull it really hard, that's contracting, but if you let it go, that's relaxing. And if you think about it, when we do this with our arms, when that Olympic lady, when she's jumping, right, there's a lot of contracting and relaxing going on. So our muscle cells need to be really movable and versatile so they can do all those cool functions. Now we know that our muscle cells, they need lots of energy, so they have lots of mitochondria, right? We also have 3 different types of muscle cells. We have skeletal muscle cells, okay? And skeletal muscle, have a think, where do you think that makes up? Okay, skeletal muscle, we've got smooth muscle and cardiac muscle. Okay, so our 3 types, skeletal, smooth, and cardiac, okay? Skeletal muscles, I hope you guessed it, okay? Skeletal muscles are the muscles that are attached to your skeleton, okay? And they're gonna help your body move around. Now, these skeletal muscles are what we call voluntary, okay? Because you control if they move, okay? That's why they're voluntary, because you're going, yeah, you're going to move, or no, you're not going to move. You're the one that's thinking about that and you're in control. So skeletal muscles are attached to our skeleton and they're called voluntary muscles. Now, these smooth muscles, they are found around your organs, okay? Now, this smooth muscle is actually what we call involuntary. Now, we have smooth muscle going down our bronchial tube, okay? Now, if you know somebody, maybe you yourself has had asthma, this bronchial tube, smooth muscle, okay, it's involuntary. And people with asthma, how it closes up, that's not something you can control, right? Person with asthma can't just think, don't close up bronchial muscle. And that's because it's smooth, right? And that's why they need their little puffer. Yeah, cool. So skeletal muscle, you choose to move it. So it is voluntary. Smooth muscle, that's found around our organs and our bronchial tube. We can't control that. So that is what we call involuntary. And we've got our other type called cardiac muscle. Now this is also involuntary. And cardiac means relating to the heart. And you can't think and say heart beat here, heart don't beat here, right? And that's why that's involuntary. So the muscles in your heart, they need to contract and relax to pass the blood around your body, yeah? So when we're talking about how our nerves work with our muscle cells, we can be thinking that our nerves carry messages around our body, okay? And they carry them around through the axons and the broken myelinated sheath, which generates action potentials, allowing for the signal to be transmitted, yeah? So I think with my brain that I'm gonna break the high jumping record, okay? I jump. That is my voluntary skeletal muscle, okay? Which is being told to jump through the propagation of action potentials along my axons in my nervous system. My involuntary muscle is my cardiac and my smooth muscle. My smooth muscle is found around like organs, like my digestive system, my bronchial system. Think about the asthma example. You can't control if you have an asthma attack, so that's involuntary, okay? You can't just think, go away, yeah? And then same as our cardiac muscle, which helps to pump all that blood around our body. It's involuntary and it happens without us thinking about it. I hope you have found this video useful and that you have learnt all about the propagation of action potentials in our nervous system by our nerve cells, right? I also hope that you have learnt that skeletal muscles are attached to our skeleton and that we think that they can move and that they can move, and that's through those nerve cells and that action potential propagation. You should have also learned that we have another two types of muscle cells, cardiac and smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is found around your organs and cardiac around your heart. Both of these two latter types, so our smooth and cardiac muscle, both of these muscle types are involuntary. Okay, thanks for watching another episode of Miss Hobbs Teaches Biology. If you liked this video and found it helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and turn on that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button if you want more of these videos. You can also comment down below if there's a particular topic or if you need me to recap or go over something, and I'm more than happy to.